Notice is hereby given that a workshop meeting of Commissioners Court of Grimes County will be held this day at 9 a.m. Grimes County Annex Building, 114 West Buffington Avenue. And we have called the meeting to order. The second item on our agenda is to discuss new, revised, or modified job descriptions and proposed salary grade changes for those positions. We have a packet that's been prepared for us by our Human Resources Department regarding those jobs that have been, or those requests from the elected officials or department heads that have requested Commissioners Court to review that position, to either add or delete duties and responsibilities, and to lower or raise salary grade for those particular positions. So the first one I pulled out of the package was from our tax assessor collector, Mary Ann Waters. Would you come to the podium, identify yourself, and throw your best pitch?
Good morning. My name is Mary Ann Waters. I'm tax assessor collector here in Grimes County. When I was looking at this salary structure that we have, the county clerk's chief deputy and district clerk's chief deputy are all grade 7. My chief deputy is listed as an office manager, and she's a grade 5. I think that she has the responsibility of taking care of my office when I'm not there. I have her listed as chief deputy on her, however we classify her with her description of her job, and I would like for her to be moved from a grade 5 to a grade 7. She is currently within the pay scale of a grade 7.
Is that it?
That's all I got to say. You have her job description there with all the duties that she does.
Have you done a comparison of her job duties and responsibilities in comparison to the other two departments that you've mentioned?
Not.
You have not? And the reason I ask is because, and Commissioner, I don't want to take the whole show on this, but the reason I ask is you, outside of the governmental world, you can have same or similar job titles at different grade levels. So the idea is you could have a vice president at one level and another vice president at another level, or a deputy at one level, a deputy at another level, and that would fit the salary scheme. It really, what determines what level they're going to be is not just the nomenclature of the job, but the duties and responsibilities of that job.
Well, she has all of the financial duties that I have, and anything that I can do, she can do. She is trained to do everything I can do, so that if I'm not in that office today, for some reason, she can step in and do whatever needs to be done. She does financial, she does the deposits, she does reconciliations of bank statements, plus she still works the window if they need it. She's the training coordinator to make sure all the girls are trained whenever we bring in new hires or not. So with the qualities and the jobs that she's doing, I feel that she should be qualified as a chief deputy.
Yeah, and I'm not disputing your request, I'm just asking some questions to give us a reason for considering your request. I turn it over to the commissioners.
No change in your budget for that position, correct?
Not at this time. I'm not asking for a raise right now, I'm just asking for a different job, grade level. Because her salary is within the grade level 7.
Will you be asking for a raise in that position?
I will.
That should not be our deciding factor today, Commissioner. I mean, if she's going to ask for an increase in the future, that's a different discussion. What we're discussing today is the value of that job that's currently in a grade 5 worthy of being in a grade 7 position.
Well, it says on the agenda, proposed salary changes.
I think that would be if it's required to get them into that other level, maybe.
That's the idea behind that, because we can't, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Foltz, we're not supposed to or not allowed to make salary adjustments in the year unless it's a extenuating situation. Is that correct, or Jesse?
You can't make changes for an elected official. You can make changes for somebody else, but it's the same issue as a budget amendment. Typically, the standard is unforeseen.
Okay, thank you.
But I
You
don't,
agree with him, auditing department?
Always.
That's what she meant was never.
She was in, always, never? Okay.
Yeah, but I appreciate her.
Look, Commissioner, I'm not trying to shut you down, but I think the question is, before us, did we take it from a 5 to a 7? And my thought is that if she's gonna ask for an increase to this position later, that's a budget discussion for later. But you're entitled to ask your question, I apologize.
Well, I guess when it was originally set up, was this description presented as a chief deputy, or?
It
all of
was,
her
I've gone
responsibilities as a
through
chief
and
deputy?
I've really updated, because there's a couple of more things that I added on here that weren't before, but, basically, it's the same one.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same description.
Was her title a chief deputy at
It's
the time?
always been chief deputy, yes. She is, yes, that's her title.
I do agree with the judge's take on this. You can have the same title and have different duties. An example that I would give, coming from an education background, you have teachers that take on other responsibilities that get extra pay for that. I would like to see a comparison.
Well, I have one of the ladies is here. Can we ask her what her chief deputy does?
We can do that.
Can we? I mean, is that allowable?
This is a workshop.
Diane, can you tell me what your chief deputy does in her office, in your office?
Similar to what yours does. I mean, the chief deputy runs the office when I'm not there. She does all the financials. She does monthly reporting. She monitors my deputies. Makes decisions if I'm not there.
So similar to.
Yes, sir.
I think she has the same number of.
Employees. You have 5?
Yeah,
I have 4 and 1 part-time.
I have 4.
Yeah. And that includes the chief deputy?
Absolutely
Yes,
does.
yes.
I said 4, I have 5. Sorry. Including her.
I'm not trying to make this difficult for anybody, commissioners, or the elected officials that are presenting this. It's just that this is the dilemma that I thought we as a court would run into as we try to evaluate these positions, because we don't have the background research that the Job Evaluation Committee had when they were going through all of this. And, I mean, we had some pretty open discussions and debate on different issues. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Lucy, my memory is not what it should be, but when we were talking about chief deputies between departments, and not taking anything away from your chief deputy or the job that he or she does on a day-to-day basis, but I believe the reason we had 1 at a level 7 versus 1 at a level 5 is because the ones that were at 7, that was in the county clerks and the county districts, is because they were dealing with court data and documents and the legal system, and the discussion of the committee, whether it was right or wrong, but the discussion of the committee and the conclusion that that group of people came to, there was a higher level of responsibility dealing with the court records on a day-to-day basis. And if my memory serves me correctly, Lucy, there was the belief that those positions carried more responsibility.
Okay, but they don't carry the financial responsibility that our office carries.
Okay?
Our office comes, I believe, if I remember correctly, over $5 million flowed through my office last year.
Okay.
Can you say that much went through their offices?
No, I can't, but, and that's a valid argument, or, it is an argument. That's a valid argument, because in our discussion, we maybe didn't discuss the financial impact of one department over another. What we did discuss, and Lucy, don't leave me hanging here, but I mean, if you remember something different, say so. But I believe our discussion was on the, kind of the legal authority of the courts and the importance of making sure that was done right, keeping the legal system right, and making sure the court records were right. The discussion of how much money comes through your office versus those office, I don't remember that a part of our discussion.
Yeah,
And so that's a fair argument on your part.
all right.
And that would potentially be a distinguishing factor that could potentially elevate your deputy clerk, because we're looking at responsibilities, same or similar, or you've got this, they don't. That might bring yours up where it wouldn't bring theirs up. They have court where yours doesn't. That brings theirs up where, you know, and I know you're dealing with legal documents with titles and things of that sort, but typically, your office is not dealing with people going to jail or sentences or warrants and that kind of thing, so
Judge, if
Lucy?
I could say something.
I wish you would.
Later on, you're gonna see the county clerk is asking for the same thing. She wants her chief deputy raised to a grade 7. And she gives gives you all the documents to go with that.
So,
According to this, she already is. In the salary structure, a grade 7 is the county clerk, chief deputy, and the district clerk, chief deputy.
Well, she's asking for, currently, her chief deputy is a grade 5, and she wants to move her to a grade 7.
Did that happen when they restructured their office? When
Right.
they kind of did away with the chief
Yeah,
deputy?
And she wants to come back with it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
So she's really asking
But
just
what-
for her to.
okay.
Right, move to a grade 7.
Well,
and that's
that
in our
was-
review, right?
Right.
So we'll get to that one, but go ahead.
But that was part of my question, was making sure that, you know, this job description was what the committee looked at comparative to the other job descriptions, and
Well,
nothing
there
was
are
really added.
additional duties that are
Sure.
added in here now that were not
Oh,
in
okay.
it previously.
Okay.
Yes,
Right.
I did update it.
So there are a few more
include those,
duties that
yes.
were included,
Yes.
but plus, I think the financial may
Right.
as well be a determining factor. Okay.
Judge, just for clarification purposes, we don't have an action item today. So what is the court's position on taking up this matter at a later date? I mean, when are we anticipating these potential changes to happen?
That's a healthy question. What we had said, and again, going back on memory, that scares me when I do. But we as a court came to the conclusion, whether we all agreed with it or not, that if department heads or elected officials wanted to change current job descriptions and/or grades, we'd do a 2-time-a-year review to consider that, once in February, once in May.
That's correct.
And then I would guess on the basis of that, if the committee, and I guess similar to what the Job Evaluation Committee did previously, and I'm just talking out loud here, they would have come to conclusion of this ought to be elevated, this ought to be left the same, this change. And we kind of did it in a package deal with revising the salary structure. And that was presented before the court, and we approved it in that way, Commissioner. So I don't know exactly what the right answer, maybe we can yield to counsel, and if he has one idea that he'd like to share with us. But John, I mean, I don't want to misconstrue the wording, but the idea in my mind, we've discussed, we've revised, we've modified job descriptions, And if we needed to, then we take it to another grade level. If it didn't fit, if the salary didn't fit that grade level, we're kind of automatically saying we gotta bring them up at least to the minimum. That would have been my thought process, Commissioner. I don't know if I answered your question or not.
No, but that's okay. I don't, are we gonna take action on these today?
Well, according to the wording on the agenda, I don't believe we can. I think what we can do is we can come to a conclusion that this is what we want to do. And then if we need to make some changes, then I would think to be in order, we put it on an agenda where we approve those issues that came up, or we'd have motions and we'd approve that in a regular or a special commissioner's court.
So I don't think, it's very difficult for me to wrap my mind around the idea of how we're gonna discuss job duties and descriptions and qualifications without discussing the salaries that are accommodating to those positions.
Okay?
Because it has a budgetary impact, whether it be now or later.
Well, I stand
And that's-
corrected on my previous comment where it says, and proposed salary grade changes, but I think in this particular case, she wasn't asking for more money at this time, because and that doesn't count the longevity, does it? Okay, so the individual is already within the grade 7 range, but I understand where you're coming from. So that would be worthy of discussion if needed. But I do think we ought to come to, in this workshop, we ought to come to a conclusion that, yeah, we want to put it on the agenda to move it up,
Well, I mean,
or leave it alone.
I reviewed her job description and looked at the others and listened to what she had to say this morning, and as far as the job description is concerned and what she's wanting to do, that's certainly within, it seems logical to me.
Okay. And logical is moving it from 5 to 7.
Yes, if we're trying to keep consistency throughout the grade scale and looking at the job description and job duties.
And I'm fine with that. I just want to remind, just because the job is titled the same does not mean it has the same responsibility one department to another. Again, I go back to what you said, Mary Ann, is that the financial responsibility, that gives that job description some oomph that probably wasn't considered previously. And Jesse, were you in those? The other Jesse was. Were you in the job evaluation?
Other Jessica.
So the answer is you were not. Okay. But Lucy, you were in. Do you concur, or do you recall any discussion of financial?
We never brought up financial and that grade structure.
Okay.
But I would reserve the comment, I'd like to see if we're gonna have a financial impact for it to be discussed, obviously, in the budget workshop, and possibly that be taken up in the next budget cycle.
And that's what I had planned to do, was to wait until the next budget cycle to ask for any increase in salary there. But like I said, I was waiting for the next budget cycle. I wasn't gonna do that. I just wanted to get her in the correct grade
Right.
now. And then when the budget comes, then I can ask for,
But it would be appropriate if she wasn't currently within the salary grade 7,
right,
that if the court next week or 2 weeks from now approved it, that we would have an obligation, an appropriate obligation, to bring that individual to the minimum of that grade 7.
and like I say, she's already there. So that's why I'm not
Okay.
asking for any salary increase at this time, because she's already within the grade. Her pay is within that scale.
Are you looking at the revised grade definition? You looked at the revised?
Yeah, it's the last one that we got. That's the one I have.
What is the date of that revision? Do you have it?
April 19th,
April 19th of,
April 15, 2019.
well, correct.
You have the right.
Thank you, Mr. Peeler. Are there any other questions for Mary Ann Waters?
I have none.
Carl?
No.
So when we bring this up on an agenda, and since Commissioner Walker is not here, can we keep her out of the vote?
I don't think so, Jay.
Well, the reason is, I'm gonna be disappointed if we have the same discussion during a special or a regular meeting that we're having today.
She can watch the video.
Well, that's true.
Well, and but as a member, I mean,
Yeah.
she.
And I'm not trying to deny her
I
right.
understand, she could be in the hospital, whatever the thing is, she would have the right to have a discussion, but if you all have already heard all you need to, which it sounds like, at some point, someone makes someone of you folks makes the motion in the second and call for the vote.
Today?
No.
No, yeah. Because we're not doing that today.
I'm just saying if, yeah,
Okay.
you allow her to have her questions answered, but at the same time, if you've already gotten all the information you need, then you'll be
Okay.
in a position to make a motion and move on.
Okay. Do you have any, you don't have any money figure though in the job description, do you?
As far as how much we take in?
Yeah.
No, I did not
I mean,
put
that's-
that in there.
I don't think that would be, even though that could be a fluctuating number,
I don't think it's gonna go down.
well,
Yeah.
even though it's a fluctuating number, I don't think it would be out of order to somewhere in the job description to make a notation that on an annual basis, this office has handled in excess of $5 million.
Okay, or whatever the total is, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, I can do that.
and I think that would be a positive addition. It also, you know, if, as Mr. Foltz reminds us that some of us won't be here next time around, that those that replace us would have a better understanding why the decision was
Sure.
made.
Sure, I can add that to the job description, it's not a problem.
And let me point out, if I might, there are offices that deal in money because it's set up that way. I'm not hearing Ms. Waters say this. I've heard other offices, though, in the past say, we brought in X number of dollars in revenue for the county. Well, that's because your office is situated to bring in revenue. It's a matter of responsibility of handling those dollars, not that you were the most successful office
No.
because you were profitable.
Yeah.
Some offices are set up to bring in money and some aren't.
Well, and like our office, we're set to bring in money, but most of it is for the state. We get paid a portion of that, but we still have to be the custodians of all those funds, and we have to distribute them to the state appropriately, you know, as well. So, yeah, I mean, we may take in that amount of money, doesn't mean that's how much the county is gonna get off of that, but yeah.
You should try harder.
I wish I could.
Thank you very much. Okay, the next one that is in the stack that I have is Al Peeler, which is our maintenance and also our probation, dealing with our probationers.
Community service.
Community service folks, thank you. I'll get it right one of these years.
It's all right.
Okay, do you want to share with us what you have
My
presented?
name's Al Peeler. I'm the community service coordinator and the building maintenance manager for Grimes County. A little over 15, 16 months ago, we didn't have a maintenance department set up. And then we got community service when the salary structure was very brand new. We didn't have anything set up for the maintenance department, plus with me going and taking community service coordination over it. Representative Lamont at that time said, "Al, take this job." I believe we went to court on that. We discussed me taking over the other job. What we did see in the future was that Judge Lamont was going to turn into Representative Lamont. And we didn't see Michelle Sanders going to court coordination of county court at law. So that thrusted all the other responsibilities that she did on top of me, and also on top of the community service coordinator. So he said we would address it later. 18 months later, we're addressing it, and that's fine with me. I have no problem with that. So we've had some incidents happen here of recent. We didn't have any job descriptions really for maintenance. So I took it upon myself, and with the judges oversee, I made and in my job descriptions, gentlemen, you'll understand that this is for the future. This isn't for today. This is not all positions will be filled. This is for if we get a new building, we got to step along in some way, and it will line that out. Job descriptions of maintenance custodian 2. We currently have a custodian 2. So he just needed a job description. We didn't have a job description for that. Job description 5 is actually what I'm a 6. So for the future, we need to drop the 6 down to a 5 if we have a department head. And the department head hopefully would be me. So that I could oversee the community service coordinator, I could oversee the custodians, and the maintenance tech in the future. So what we're doing is inserting the job descriptions into the salary structure. And this sounds selfish, but it's not. And I'm requesting to become the department head of the maintenance and community service coordinator. I do it now. I manage 4 budgets. I manage adult probations, the Harvey Disaster Fund, 421, which is maintenance, building maintenance, and 422, which is the historic courthouse. I don't mean to sound disrespectful. Judge knows what goes on in my department when I brief him. I run daily operations of my department. I oversee every project in the greater courthouse complex. And I leave it at that.
What are the 4 budgets? You did 421, 422, what and what?
421, 422, 47, and 428. 47 is the Harvey. Now that
That's
will,
fun.
that's a budget, but it's a fund.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Jesse.
It's a fund, but it has its budget.
Right.
And it will go away.
And right now that fund's at what, 1.3?
Hopefully it'll be more than that, but it's at 203,000
203.
because we haven't accepted any bids yet.
The insurance, where does that go in? The insurance?
That goes into Harvey.
Into the Harvey?
47, yes, sir.
Okay. So ideally, what you're promoting is that you'd have a level 2, which is kind of your maintenance custodian person, and you have that position filled currently.
Yes, sir.
Planning for the future, then you want to have somebody who has a little higher level, has a higher level skill set than the 2, and that would be your 5, because they're going to have technical training and things of that
Yes,
sort.
sir.
You are currently a 6,
Yes, sir.
and you're not promoting that we take you back down to 5 in the time being,
I wouldn't.
but your preference is to get things set, is to consider a manager, community service, maintenance manager, community service coordinator, the way we have it combined, and that's the job description that you've submitted here.
Yes, sir.
And that would go into a department manager level.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And that does come with some financial burden.
Okay. I won't recuse myself from the discussion, but I've had a lot of discussion with Al in his preparation of this, so ultimately, I'm somewhat in favor.
Well, I'm kind of in the same boat. He used to work for me, but I'm not recusing myself either. And I mean, as far as the structure that he's laid out here, it seems logical to implement those into the grade scale or the salary structure, not necessarily with the intent of filling them, but to have them on there in case there is ever an event that we need to. Looking at the job description on the maintenance manager and community service coordinator, Mr. Peeler, about the 6th bullet down on essential responsibilities, I'm not sure I understand what that means. Manage assigned budgets for department and be able to obtain permission for expenditures outside of budget from Commissioners Court.
So technically, a department head doesn't come to Commissioners Court if they haven't, let me back up. I'm sorry. So technically, an employee not of a department head or elected official status comes in and asks for an oversight of the budget. If we have a project, an emergency project come up, that I would be the one as the department head that comes in and says XYZ costs this much. I don't have it in my budget. I'm asking for approval for that. Did that answer that?
Yeah.
This is like being a funeral. Just saying. Everybody looking at you and everybody's real quiet. I've never been on trial or anything, so I can't say that, but I've been to a funeral.
Well, I'll break the silence.
Good God.
I applaud you for looking ahead. I think this is a good idea to, because as we move into the new building, we're definitely gonna need additional, have additional responsibilities, and we need to plan for that.
Yeah, I see a need for it. I just need to get the structure correct. And as we grow as a county, I believe, as I'm not the department head, I act as the department head. And it's in my responsibility, we didn't really have any job descriptions for the maintenance department. I just took 3 or 4 old ones that were, and figured out, fit them in, and I think this lays out truly your maintenance department. Whether I'm here or I'm the department head or I'm not, it still lays it out for future.
No, I think your thought process is right on target. And I don't want to speak out of school, but that doesn't stop me usually. As we do move into the future, I would almost see where maybe we have, like, your maintenance and your custodian 5, maybe that person ends up taking care of what few remaining buildings we have here, and maybe we get them out to the country club, and maybe we get them up to JP1, because we're paying for maintenance with other contractors through there. And I'm not trying to put out of work, people out of work, but I am, as you're looking ahead, I'm also thinking, okay, if indeed we did have these personnel, how can we best utilize them?
Sure.
Because as the buildings in this area would diminish, the workload, I would hope, would diminish, and then maybe they are available, because these other folks, I think they come in 1 day a week or something like that.
Sure.
So that's a possibility. Any other questions for Ryan? Please.
I think it's a great idea to implement a structure in this department because it's definitely needed, but I do want to clarify that, I know what you mean, but we don't have any country clubs in Grimes County per se.
And X3.
Thank you.
The converted country club. It's in a country atmosphere. It's right by the golf course and the airport.
Yes, sir.
I'll be handling all those.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure.
Okay, no, I appreciate that. I do want to ask a question though,
Yes, sir.
on the, well, mainly from the commissioners, on the manager, community service coordinator, making that a department head. Is that something we wait until we get the new building? Or is that something that we look at doing maybe with this next budget, even though we don't have the new building available, simply because this job description is indeed taking care of the community service coordinator?
Sir.
Would there be an immediate change in your budget to implement this to the department head status?
Monetarily, yes.
And that would be in regards to your pay,
Yes, sir.
because where you're at wouldn't hit the minimum of a department head.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I'm of the same opinion that I was before. I mean, I don't mind making the change as far as classifications, but I would like to see any monetary changes be conducted in the next budget cycle.
Which is perfectly fine.
And that was the thought I had, but I mean, in preparation, because we're getting ready to roll into those budget discussions, I just don't want us to forget, okay, yeah, we're thinking about making that a department head, so.
On that point, I didn't increase my salary in my budget when I handed it in today to her.
You just turned it in today?
It was due today. No, it's, actually, I handed it
I'm
in
messing with you.
Thursday.
You
You
mentioned,
didn't want this to be a funeral, I was trying to put a little humor into this, Al.
I didn't reflect any salary change in that budget because I didn't know what the commissioner's court would decide today.
So in summary, what you're proposing, that we create a department head, that eventually we would have a grade 5, and eventually we would have a grade 2.
No, we have a grade 2 now.
Well,
We have
but I'm
a-
talking about eventually a department of 3.
Yeah, eventually
All
overall.
right. If we saw the need. Okay.
Well, you put this
Since we don't have a
big building
country
on
club,
me.
we might not need to have that person. Okay.
Yeah, so really the job description for maintenance custodio 2 just needs to be implemented. I mean, that's more for Lucy's and the county's paperwork. This is our job description for custodian maintenance custodian 2. The five in the department head is the 2 new ones, and 5 is dropping me. I'm at a 6. That would drop it back down to a 5. We wouldn't implement that. Not this year, anyhow. It's not in my budget cycle. And then we just make me as a department head so that I get that title officially. And because at some point, and John could probably, dealing with architects and engineers, that I'm truly not the department head. So if something goes wrong, I could just throw my hands up and go, I'm not the department head. You know, but that's not how it's supposed to work.
And that's not the way it's gonna work, because I'm not the department head either, so you're gonna keep that
I
in
mean,
mind.
legally, I mean, really, you're the overseer of me,
Yeah.
correct?
The entire court is, and the court can delegate that authority to one member of the court or to somebody else. And
Right.
we have, I think, in past contracts said who the contact would be you.
Yes, sir.
Same kind of thing. The
Okay.
court could authorize you
Okay,
to have that authority.
perfect. Answered my question.
Anything else? Commissioners, anything else? Thank you very much, Mr. Peeler.
Judge, I've got a couple of truancy cases in Minnesota, so if you guys have a question, just ask Court. Or just-
Sir, we're gonna miss you. The next one in the stack was from Vanessa Brzezinski, Grimes County Clerk. Ms. Brzezinski is,
Vacation.
yes, on a cruise.
Yes.
Somebody send her a notice to quit sending food pictures. I mean, really.
Commissioners, what she's wanted to do, when David Paskett was in office, he decided to,
Who's that?
David Paskett, when he was in office, Barbara Comich did not have, it was Tina Schrader that was his chief deputy.
Yep.
But then when she left, he decided not to have a chief deputy. So now she's wanting to have a chief deputy and move Barbara from a grade 5 to a grade 7. She also spoke to Jesse, is that correct, Jesse? About this?
Briefly.
Yes, briefly. So that's all the information I have, is that she's wanting to change her chief deputy to a grade 7.
What was the previous, the retired employee?
She was the chief deputy.
What grade was she?
She was a grade 7,
She was a grade 7.
yes.
Okay. So effectively,
Essentially, yeah, restructuring to add this grade 7 back.
Right.
back in.
Back in.
Okay.
And we have it on our salary structure.
So the person who's in the 5 that she's looking at moving to the 7,
Yes.
where does her salary fit?
I'm not aware. Are you, Jesse, where she's at?
I didn't know who she wanted to bring.
I'm sorry?
I didn't know who it was she was wanting to make
Okay.
her chief deputy.
It's Barbara Comich.
Yeah, until now, I did not know. So
I don't
I am not
know.
aware.
I don't know if it's gonna be a change of salary or not.
I can find
go-
out. Do you want me to go find out quickly?
You think it's relevant? Yeah?
Do what? Yes.
Yes, please. Lucy, is there anything else you want to share with us about this?
All I know is that she sent minutes to us that it was improved in Commissioner's Court that her grade 2 position go to a grade 3, or grade 3 go to a grade 4, and grade 4 to a grade 5. That's the only thing I'm aware of. So, I gave you all the information that she sent to me. Mary Johnson moved from a grade 2 to a grade 3, and Freddie from a grade 3 to a grade 4. And Barbara went from a grade 3 to a grade 5. So she didn't give me any more details on why she sent this.
Okay.
But the court might want to look at that and see if we did, change all of her employees to the right grade structure.
Well, you would know if we did, don't you?
Right, right.
And did we?
Yes,
Oh.
I thought we did.
I read through all of this, I'm like, well, haven't we done a lot of this?
Yeah, I thought we had.
So the only question is, are we going to allow, and we had it previously at a 7,
Right,
and they just had that position abandoned upon the
Right.
retirement of an employee.
right. When
And now that she's had a chance to review, she does see the need for that grade
Right.
7
Right,
position.
she would like to put, one of her employees, that position, not the employee, but that position, back to a chief deputy.
For me, that's an easy decision. I guess but the question is, is it gonna cause an immediate pay grade change? Pay change?
Yes, it would require an adjustment,
Okay, do you know what,
like $1.
$1 an hour? Okay.
Well, she hasn't been here for 10 years.
No.
Yeah, so.
So the,
She's at a grade 5, so,
She's at a grade, yes.
So it's 15 to 875. So what's the individual making currently an hour? 16?
And grade 7 is at a 17, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it would be $1 an hour bump.
Or when we're reviewing these, could these be reviewed and approved for the next budget? Or the change in the grade scale and
Ask that question again.
could we, have this approved and when we go through it, actually change pay scale effective at the beginning of the next budget?
We can, yes, we can do that. I think though, it's contrary to what we established in the past, that if somebody's in a grade, we're gonna take them at least to the minimum if they're not there. So it
But
would be,
if we do that every year, we're always gonna be short budget, like, I guess probably what Commissioner Fox was talking about as well. But, if it's presented to us, then we can at least have it effective for the next
sure.
pay scale. versus
Have
other.
we
Or
get,
you're aware of it now in preparation for the
Yeah,
budget,
and then
so
we'll
it's not
be, we're
implemented
aware of
till-
it for the
Right.
preparation, so we can have that in effect added to
Right.
the next deal and have that grade scale changed by then.
have we changed any during the year, Jesse?
As far as grades?
Yeah.
No, not that I'm aware of.
Because that's when we figure
Yeah.
any pay raises as well, is at that point, so.
I agree with what you're saying,
You
there.
would-
It should be done in the next.
Yeah, you would want to see what your revenues are and,
And then see where we're going, and that's,
Yeah.
that'd be part of what
Yeah,
that job
what
description
is
change
available.
would go to that as well.
So the discussion then is that we'd consider this of putting the 7 back in there.
Mhm.
But upon that,
Effective
then
for
we
the
would
next.
make it at the budget time.
Yeah.
When did this employee, when did the retired employee retire?
In September 2018.
Yeah, September.
That's all
So
I
the
know.
money was already budgeted. Was that employee making $17 an hour or
she
more?
retired in September.
September 2018.
Did we know in advance of that she was retiring? Like how, September 2019 is that what you said?
No,
No, 18.
18. 18.
Okay.
Because then we
So
moved
it was already
Vanessa
in
out
this
of
budget.
the,
But I don't know if it was in this budget, because didn't they did a lot of
Restructured before.
restructuring.
They did
So I
restructure.
can't
And
answer
so they
that
took
without
that
going
money
back and
and-
looking at their budget right now.
Restructured it.
okay, but my question is, was the person that was at the grade 7 position
Uh-huh.
making $17 an hour or more as we approved the budget for October 1? If that's the case, then Commissioner, the money should be already in that budget.
It should be, but they did other restructuring.
Yeah,
So
they
I
did
would-
restructure.
Instead of saying, yes, it's in there, I would like to confirm it.
Yeah, they
Prior
did
to y'all.
restructuring.
They did
They did a lot of
restructuring and
restructuring.
gave money to
Others?
Yeah,
others.
they did.
So by the time we would bring this back up to court, Commissioners Court, you'd have an opportunity to research and tell us yes or no, the money's in the budget or the money's already gone from the budget.
Yes.
Okay. That would be helpful. Anything else?
That's it.
Commissioners, any other questions? And we're gonna put this one aside. That would bring us to the next one in the box. Ms. Pope.
I'm wanting to move my assistant from a grade 2 to a grade 3. But Commissioners, we are only a 2-person office. Not only is she my assistant, I mean, she's learning HR now, so she takes in, I've given her all the retirees to take care of, and I gave you the amounts that we bring in a month and a year. And she's my office manager, she's my assistant. What more can I say? I mean, I could raise her to a grade 5 because she's the office manager of that HR department. But if I could get her to a grade 3 with all of her responsibilities, yes, it'll be a 8 cents difference in her salary right now. So. And last year I gave you all the comparisons when I came to budget, the difference from different counties. And this year I just went on and just gave you what I felt like y'all needed.
So the job duties and responsibilities haven't necessarily changed?
No, they haven't changed.
It's just that
Just I've
it's your
given her
belief.
more.
It's your belief, well, you've given her more, is that on the job?
Let me see if I can put it on my chart. No, it's still the same.
So what's not on there that needs to be added on there?
Let me look at it real quick. Really, everything is on there. There's
Okay.
nothing else that I
All
can
right.
add.
So so it boils down to, your opinion is you think the job responsibilities
Right.
entitled to be at a 3 versus a 2?
That is correct.
All right. So if we were to compare that to what we currently have in 2, that's our clerk 2,
Yes, sir.
our maintenance, and it's our GHRC office, what is GHRC?
Grimes Health Resource Center.
Say again?
Grimes Health Resource. Laura means, she has she has an office manager. And that office manager works she's partly covered by Senior Mills, Fund 61, and she's partly covered by the county.
Okay, I know.
She takes in money too, right?
Yes, lots.
So you're asking for her to become a
At-
clerk 3 versus a
3.
clerk 2?
Right. At this time, she's at 1292, and if the minimum on grade 3 would be 13.
And grade 3 includes added financial responsibility versus what grade 2 does.
Well, comparatively, I can see where it would fit in a 3. That's just my opinion, though.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Judge. There's a lot of technical knowledge that's required to do what she does with regard to the retirees and other things that she assists with Ms. Poe.
I think, well, and one of the things that I would give that entire office in that position is a confidentiality factor. That because of the business that is conducted in there, it's not, a lot of it's not open agenda for discussion
That's true.
because we're protecting employees' personal information.
And we do take care of every employee in the county.
Okay. Commissioners, any further questions? Madam Department Head, any other comments?
At this moment, thank you.
Thank you. And you gave us this retirement information just to show the financial responsibilities?
Yes, sir.
All right. Chief Green,
Yes.
I think you're up next. All right. Has anybody heard from Commissioner Walker this morning? Is she okay? Don't know. She is okay? Oh. Okay. No 911 calls to her address? Okay.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'd like to present, we were looking at
I want to compliment you for printing it so small it can't be read. We'll have to take your word for what you say it says. Thank you.
we're just doing an annual eye exam for everybody.
Yeah, okay.
But,
New glasses yet?
Seriously, mine come in Friday.
now, Ms. Polk is directed for any insurance needs on her original
And I'll be quiet. Go ahead, please, sir.
But we were looking at some job descriptions throughout the grades and stuff, and we noticed that the sheriff's office noticed that there's 2 law enforcement investigator positions that are in different grades on the grade scale, and we reviewed the duties between the 2, and they have real similar duties. There were a couple of things that we did add to our job descriptions that we didn't have in there that our investigators currently do. Basically, serving subpoenas, copying digital evidence, working with different county, state, and federal investigators, presenting photo lineups and developing those, and then also they do some trial preparation assistance, not only for our department, and they also are part of the process of preparing for trials and helping with sorting out the evidence for the trials. So those were added in. We also changed a couple of preferred requirements in the education and experience, but as far as the actually required ones, they were left the same. But we do notice that there is very similar job duties in certain that they actually do on a day-to-day basis, and we'd just like to have ours reviewed and possibly be moved into the or our SO4 change to reflect what the paraprofessional 2 range is.
The SO4, which is the current sheriff office investigator,
Correct.
you want it to be comparable to the paraprofessional 1, is that correct?
2.
2. The district attorney, okay, investigator. All right, paraprofessional 2.
So right now, all your investigators are listed in the SO4 range, is that what you're telling?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
And it's your belief sheriff office investigators are comparable or equal to DA investigators position?
Yes.
Okay. So the SO04 is $18 to $21.80. And so the minimum is $18, and on the paraprofessional 2, the minimum is $20. So there's a $2 difference. And there's also a difference in the maximum.
Correct, and that's where the big difference is.
And the maximum of the paraprofessional 2 is $30. Let's exclude the longevity. So it's 30. And it's 23 in the SO. How many investigators do you have in the sheriff's office?
We have there's 4 investigators and 1 supervisor in that position.
Sir,
There's 4 investigators and 1 supervisor in that division.
are all of them classified the same as an SO4?
Yes.
So 4 investigators and a supervisor.
Except for the supervisor.
What's a supervisor?
They're gonna be a department head.
Department head?
Yes.
So their minimum range is 20 with a max to 2760?
Yes. They're department head 1, yes, sir.
Okay.
Todd,
Jeff,
I'm sorry. Will y'all be on the pay, so you won't do the pay scale for them anymore, your personal?
No,
Is that
well, if it is approved, we'll have to go back and do some revisions to our pay scale and present that during the budget proceeding.
Judge, I wasn't here when this original salary structure and grade scale were created.
Be nice, because I was.
But I don't know how this discrepancy wasn't addressed at that time.
I think the answer to that question is because and correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, but I don't think, and Lucy, correct me if I'm wrong, there wasn't a lot of discussion about the SO office positions because they were on somewhat their own sheet.
Yes.
And most of the time in energy, Commissioner Cox, was spent on all of the other county positions, trying to get that in order and in line with what we thought private and public industry was doing in an effort to make our pay scales right and to keep our attrition down, our retention high. So, not making excuses, but there was not a lot of discussion within, because that was not the employee evaluation, the team we had together, it was not their area of expertise. John, Investigator Wren was a part of that, and maybe that's why, you know, their job got evaluated and elevated to where it is, but we didn't spend much time in the sheriff's office area. So I think that would be the answer I'd give to your question.
And they also had a pay scale set up before we were started on this, so we kinda looked at theirs as they had it where it needed to be, and we didn't compare the two at that time.
I certainly think they need to be in that paraprofessional 2 category, and unfortunately, I mean, you've heard what I said with regard to the budget issues, but I think that needs to be given serious consideration as well. That's just my opinion on it.
Well, I'm wondering, and I don't want to complicate it, but there's no reason you can't increase in the sheriff's office line here where you have a SO4, that's your highest, and then you got a department head, and then department head 2. There'd be no reason you couldn't have a sheriff's office investigator, and it doesn't have to have the nomenclature of a paraprofessional 2, but it could be at the same pay scale or something along that line.
Yeah, that's-
And the only reason I suggest that is because we already have a distinction in the sheriff's office salary schedule, and I don't know if merging it into the rest of the salary schedule is a good idea. No, nothing wrong with making a comparison, and Lucy, jump in here. I don't see anything wrong with making a comparison of equivalent jobs, but it seems like you folks have been more comfortable, or it's been more appropriate to keep a salary structure. And John, you were part of that back when also, were you not?
I'm the one that basically built that structure.
So this is all your fault. Okay.
I'm certain that there are people that would definitely.
Okay, but I mean, wasn't it kind of the thought to have a separate salary pay structure because it was really kind of different than clerical and everything else?
Are you talking, so I make sure I'm answering the question you're asking. You're talking about that the sheriff's office structure was set, which one are you asking about?
I'm just saying that the reason we continue with the sheriff's office salary structure is because those jobs are kind of different from all of the other rank and file jobs in the county.
Yes, that's
Okay.
why when the committee first met, all of their stuff was left alone.
Yeah.
Because they had a functioning work
Right.
schedule.
Okay.
That's correct.
So Chief, back to my question to you, would you see it to be a problem if we defined the sheriff's office investigators at a different level that would be parallel in pay to the paraprofessional 2, where we have the DA investigators?
No, I don't.
Because I think the whole issue
No, I don't see
is
that as a
it's a
problem.
pay issue.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's not necessarily, I guess, being put in this category, it's just adjusting the numbers
Right.
in SO4 or making a different one for the investigators to reflect,
Okay.
you know, the salary. And like I said, it's something we'll have to prepare and bring in during the budget proposal, you know, also. Look at.
So you folks would be satisfied, or I say satisfied, we would meet your need if we made an adjustment, and then if there were any financial adjustments, that would have to come through with the October 1 budget proposal from the sheriff's office?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Cox, did you get, I kind of butted in there, did you get to
No,
finish your
that's-
comment?
That's fine. I just, yeah.
Well, I think when we do that, we probably need to, if we're gonna do that, separate them all out. We probably need to, we've got some sheriff, department in, like the department head 1, department head 2. If we wanna differentiate, we probably need to step all those out as well.
So,
Can I say something?
of course.
So what you're wanting to do is take the sheriff's department, where they're at they have SO1 through SO4.
right?
And then they're in Department Head 1, Department Head 2.
Should be it.
So you want to read,
Well, what, my
We'll
thought
just
is maybe
call
have an SO5, an SO6, and SO7,
okay,
you know,
and put them all,
and
But
and
it's still
the
comparable to
investigators,
each other.
the investigators would hit one of those other SO numbers.
okay.
But in order to get this done, then, from my perspective, we as a court would have to ask the sheriff's office to go to work, put together your proposed schedule change, give it to Lucy, and as soon as that's the case, then Lucy, if you can get it on our agenda,
We'll do it.
so we can approve it or disapprove it or whatever, and then that way you guys are ready, because we're submitting budget information to audit right now. Can y'all do that fairly,
Do
sir?
the grade structure before the budget presentation.
I think you should get your salary grades and all of that worked out, and then it's gonna tell you where your folks are and what adjustments you may or may not need to make. Because you've already said you're gonna have to take a look at everybody in the department.
And
I
while-
thought you said that.
While we're talking about that, Judge, I mean, that's a lot of work for him to do. I think the budgets are due today.
Well-
As the court, I think it would only be fair if we gave him at least some extension as far as having his budget turned in. Is that okay with you?
Like how long? I mean, y'all's, I think on the calendar, I have to have y'all's binders ready by Monday. So are you saying y'all accept your binders without their information and add it later?
Well,
Well, I
How
think we
soon
could
can
still, I think it's just gonna be some
I think it's
changing
2
of
hours
some
of
type.
discussion.
okay.
I think this is just some changing of some type, I mean, cause, where they're in Department Head 1, there's that scale. They could probably just go SO5 would be that one or something if that, you know,
Okay.
if we wanna go ahead and pull them all out, or if we wanna stick them in there, I mean, I guess it's kinda where.
I'm down to $2 in my wallet. If you bought me lunch, I'd help you through lunch today to get it knocked out.
He's got
We know, we know kind of what it's in there. I don't know if we just want to keep it separate. That's what I was saying. If we're gonna have them in this, and then we're gonna keep it separate on the paraprofessional.
Yeah, I think we keep the DA investigators where they're at, but I think the sheriff's office investigators ought to be in line with the sheriff's office. And I think we can do that fairly quickly.
Can you do that in 2 hours? Tom?
Not in 2 hours.
Well, if you take him to lunch, he'll help you. Oh, he told you he was mine here. Well,
Is it gonna cost a financial, is it gonna cost a change for your investigators
For the investigators?
Yes.
They're,
for the new scale?
yeah, there's one currently that's below the minimum of paraprofessional.
Okay.
So if it is changed, that one will need to be changed, and then obviously we'll have to look at the kind of ripple effect of what that change does to everything else.
Right.
But that would be considered during the budget process. It doesn't mean we can't put it together on the scale.
Right, but you need to be aware of how much money that you're spending prior to already having,
Oh,
prior
yeah.
to having the money.
That's part of the assignment, they'd have to figure that out.
Right. I was just asking if
Yeah.
it was a,
I mean, we could definitely, probably this week, get the, like, SO 1, 2, 3, and 4s and all of that, 5 and 6, probably taken care of, and just put some ranges in there. But
Absolutely.
then, obviously, during the budget process, zero down more into the
Right.
individual position base.
Right. I think we can do that. And I don't think I have anything on my schedule Thursday at the moment, but I didn't say that. But I can dedicate some time if you also need it there. Glad to do it.
But
And Lucy would be glad to help you too, wouldn't you, Lucy?
Sure, yeah. You're always.
But,
All right.
yeah, as, obviously, as far as, having the full salary comparisons, we have to reach out to,
When we're looking for salary, does that come out of auditors, HR, or treasurer?
When it comes to money, it's
well,
out
are
there.
you talking about budget money, or what are you talking about?
Well, if I want to know how much you make per hour, what's the other than asking you, who's the quickest person to get that information from?
Well, HR would handle
Okay.
that.
Because that's what we're looking for is a base hourly rate. You do all the other calculations of burden and
Right.
so forth, so, okay. Any other questions for the chief? Are you okay on your assignment? Are you clear?
To have the grades done by this week.
Yes, sir. And earlier this week, the better?
Got it.
Good. Thank you. Ms. Pope, do you know of any other,
No, sir, that's all I received.
okay. And today's workshop was only to discuss the idea of revising job descriptions, grades, and things of that sort. Ms. LaFleur, you were sneaking out. Did you have any that you were?
Thank you.
All right. Then we've covered everything that's been submitted to us. That would take us to agenda item number 3. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Second.
There's a motion before the court by Commissioner Dobianski on agenda item number 3, seconded by Commissioner Mallett. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much.